So welcome, welcome. And we're here, we're going to be talking about the 7 strategies for wealth and happiness. And your time is precious. And I hope to help you walk away with a lot to think about and an open heart. And I will admit that a lot of what I learned from doing this yesterday is that I just really want to surrender into this experience. I want to feed off of your energy and what's coming up for you as we go through this discussion. So do use the chat notes as we go along, and that will help me tune into you and to what's on everyone's minds. And the first question I have is, who's ready for more abundance in your life? I'm hoping everyone here. Dottie, you're so great. Thank you. Ready. We're ready. Yes, we want it. Let's bring it in. And, you know, even on that note, if you're new to my work and you haven't been to one of these conversations before, you know, I would say that the magic in what I do is about opening to the divine, opening to this yin energy, to the soulful sense of ourselves. And at the same time, or perhaps back and forth, moving back and forth into this practical world that we live in, so that we can create tangible wealth for ourselves, so that we can have more freedom, not just esoteric, ethereal freedom, but also freedom in our human life, right? So money is literally just a tool to help us do that. But that's what's going on here. And that's the ethos of this community, is how can we better able be better able to navigate life by moving back and forth between the practical and the spiritual, back and forth on a regular basis, to the point where we're like Keanu Reeves in The Matrix, and the bullets come and we're able to just ever so, you know, delicately move out of the way. And it's not that the bullets aren't coming and the things happen in life, but that we're so much more resilient and able to respond to whatever happens in life. And my goal for you today is I am hoping to make an impact in how you think about wealth and happiness. I would love to take any kind of uncertainty that you have and help you move into confidence. I would love to help you move from any states of confusion, whether it be with inner awareness or this external wealth building journey, into more clarity. I also, more important than anything, is I hope to help you believe in your own potential to bring your goals into reality. And, you know, if anyone wants to add something else, like, wait, I also wanted, then feel free to put that in the chat notes and I might be able to get to it. There will be some interactivity and some discussion, because I feel like that really connects us all together. And speaking of that, what I would love to do is begin with a meditation, a heart-opening meditation, where we, if you're in a place that's safe to do so and you're feeling comfortable and you're able to close your eyes, great, but you don't need to. You can keep them open. You can listen along. It's not going to be super deep or hypnotic or anything like that. But what I encourage you to do is to bring your awareness into your body in this moment. You can take some nice deep breaths, breathing in this sense of lightness and love. And as you breathe out, you're breathing out any distractions. And even with that, you may want to turn on some buzzers and beepers or things that might distract you during this call, so that you can be all the more present. I promise it will be worth your attention and you'll get so much more out of it. But again, returning to your breath, breathing in bright, white, loving, supportive light, and breathing out the distractions. You might even see it as a dark, sooty smoke, or just feeling the release of that energy from your shoulders, from your neck, from your eyelids and eye sockets, from your jaw. Just letting it go. It'll be there later if you want to pick it back up. But for now, you're just letting it go and settling into your body. You can also take a moment to squeeze your hands and toes, and perhaps even doing a root lock if you know what that is. But just bringing, again, your energy fully present now into your body. Breathing in and breathing out. And noticing the root chakra at the base of the spine, below the perineum, just noticing the energy from there and then going all the way up to the crown of your head and feeling that connection. And we're going to take a few moments to notice how we're here in our bodies in this moment. And we're also connected to this divine source, however you define that. God, Buddha, Allah, Jesus, divine angels, source, Mother Nature. And I'm encouraging you to connect into this energy from your body into the beyond. And feel this beautiful, loving, supportive connection, opening your heart to it, feeling its presence within you. Noticing how it's always with you. Awake or asleep, busy or silent, and calm. Always here, supporting you, loving you, embracing you with all its glory and goodness. Feeling this transference of love between you and Divine Source. And from this loving connection, take a moment to set an intention for yourself, for our time together, for your day, for your weekend, and beyond. What do you most want for yourself in this beautiful, loving energy that you've connected into? Beautiful. And we can relax our concentration and bring our attention and awareness back into this space that we're creating together. And you can even feel that right now. We're making a circle. We may be virtual, we may be all over the world, but in this moment, it doesn't matter, time and space. That dimension just drops away, and we're here holding space for each other to have new discoveries, to connect in with our most soulful sense, to learn about ourselves and learn how we can take better care of ourselves, because that's what all of this is about. You may even find that this conversation today is something that you want to close your eyes and just surrender into. You may be very active listening, but you also may notice that you treat it like a meditation. It's whatever makes the most sense for you. I'm inviting you to hold this space for that now, however feels good. Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for for being present. So what we're going to be doing together is we're going to go through an introduction. I have some things that I'd love to share with you that I feel like help us prepare for the 7 strategies for wealth and happiness, get our minds and our hearts ready to dive into those. But before we do that, I'll talk about some things and a little bit about my backstory and how this work came to be. We'll also do a wrap up. We'll talk about next steps, and there will be time for questions and answers along the way. I'll check in, like I mentioned. Please feel free to use chat to share your thoughts, even if you want to share an intention that just came up from that meditation. The chat is so beautiful in Zoom because it allows us to see who's on the call. Feel free to introduce yourself if that feels good to you, where you're from. But it allows us to not just be connected to me, but to one another. Sometimes I think we get bigger realizations by what's happening for other people. So we're supporting and helping each other by using chat. So thanks for that. Just because it's come up and I've had a few questions recently, the information that we'll be talking about applies to you whether you're self-employed or you're employed by others. And we'll start off by me talking for a moment about the idea that to build wealth and happiness in our lives really comes down to one simple and pivotally important thing, which is the value of the importance of implementation. And what I mean by that is that my hope is that you're going to be taking notes while we go through this discussion, and you're going to at least be identifying one thing that you can tell you want to put into practice. And so the best way that you can honor the time that we're spending together is to actually bring something into action, implement it, take action, and then follow up with us in the group, in the community, or with an accountability partner, what you're going to be doing next. How can you use what you're spending your priceless time here now? What can you take away and actually have it make meaning and make a difference in your life? Thoughts are one thing, but it's about implementing everything that you can to move yourself in that direction of success. The other thing that I want to plant the seed on, and I talked about this last Sunday if you were on that call, is that the problem that all of us are facing is not about the things that most of the time we think it is. It's not about having enough money, enough experience, not having enough time, not having enough, you fill in the blank. But just to hit home these points is when I was doing the research for my book, The Mindful Millionaire, I have a lot of information about millionaires and kind of what mindful millionaires, what they're doing in their lives. And one of the statistics that I came across was that, interesting enough, this idea of like, we need money to make money. Most people who became millionaires, more than 80%, started with nothing. They did not come from wealth. They built it for themselves. And so we always want to remind ourselves that the only job we have is starting where we are today. That's all that matters. And all the other baggage is just that. It's not something that's going to help us achieve our objectives. This is part of the reason that so much of my work is oriented to belief busting, because if we can look into these beliefs that we're holding on to and let them go, we're absolutely free to create whatever it is that we most want. So the next one is not having enough experience, right? We want to do something in the world, but we don't feel like we're prepared for it. Maybe we feel like we need to get another degree, we need to get a designation. And those things may be important depending on what we want to do. But I think that when we realize that each of us have a tremendous amount of wisdom and experience already inside, that anything is possible. And if an 8-year-old, can go become a millionaire on YouTube by, talking about toys, I think that all of us have the potential to lean into opportunity without saying that it comes down to not having the experience that we need. And then finally, this idea of time, not having enough time, or being too old to get started, which I see come up a lot. People say, oh, I'm in my 50s. And interesting enough, when I was doing the research for the book, I came across a list of like where some of the most successful people, you know, in modern time, at what age were they when they started their business? And it turns out Sam Walton was like 45 or 47 when he started Walmart. So like that should just take off a lot of excuses right there, that he built this incredible empire, you know, pretty much after he was 50 years old. Another funny story I like to share is when I was a financial advisor, I went out to meet with one of my clients who was in her late 80s, and she was very vibrant, and I just loved spending time with her because of how much wisdom she had. And during one of our beautiful conversations one day, sitting at Lake Tahoe, she had this gorgeous mansion on Lake Tahoe, and she said, you know, I didn't get my college degree until I was in my 50s. That was when I started to build wealth. It was after that I met my husband, and we ended up building this wealth for ourselves. And so she always inspires me when I hear people say, you know, it's too late to like start a new career or start something different. Like she did it, you know, post, I think 58 was how old she was when she graduated. So I hope this gives you some food for thought. Can we all relate to the times when we do this to ourselves, where we come up with something? Thank you, Dottie. I'm looking at you, you're helping me. So the problem that many of us face is just, it's none of those things. The only thing it is the lack of awareness of what to do next. Like, what is that one thing that's more important than anything else? Or it may be a bucket of things, and all we have to do is just pick one and choose it and move forward with it. It's not like there's right or wrong, but the idea is it's the awareness of what to do next that I think a lot of us get stuck on, and what I like to focus a lot of attention on. And I will say that this conversation is oriented in that way. Something too to be always mindful of is this idea that our thoughts, our beliefs become things, become evidenced in our lives again and again and again. So what we believe is true for us, and that is what we create. We end up creating, mostly unconsciously, a life that looks that way. So keeping that in the back of our minds. So I want to talk a little bit about how all this came to be, of like, why am I the one teaching about 7 strategies for wealth and happiness? And I said earlier, this wasn't a really fancy presentation, so bear with me as you see this next slide. You don't have to look at it all, but I'm going to talk a little bit about it. If you don't know my backstory, you now know that I was born in 1966, but I was born into a home where my parents were really young. They were 18, 19. They both had very traumatic backgrounds before they had children. It was like 2 broken feeling people come together and do their best to create a home. But unfortunately, money was, I think, we had tons of love. We really loved each other a lot, but money was the thing that caused all of the stress, caused all the fights, caused all the discomfort. And by the time I was 8 years old, I like to play with this idea that the inner child inside of me made a decision that if I could earn a lot of money, it would solve all of my problems. And after a few years of playing that out and into my teens, my inner parent came in, because I had this idea that money was great and I wanted to have it, but I also took a turn for the darkness. And my dad dealt drugs when I was growing up, and drugs were available in my home from a really young age. It's hard to believe now, but I could have anything I wanted. And my dad actually encouraged drugs as a great way to escape, which is just amazing from a young age. I said I was going to get a little emotional, sorry. But somehow in my darkness, my early high school years, when I was using a lot of drugs and kind of checking out of life, thank God, my inner parent took over. And it said, if you don't stop messing around, you're going to be broke like your parents. And, I have spent a lot of time thinking about money over this past 52 years. And at that time, I sort of made it my God. And I think it did break me free of a paradigm that I could have continued in had I kind of watched my parents and modeled after them. There's money struggles and their drug problems. But instead, this voice inside of me said, you need to get your shit together. You need to go to college, even though they couldn't really help me do that. They didn't know even where to start. But the money, it fueled me forward. And I look back and there's a part of that that was really healthy and beautiful. And it got me out of poverty and money stress. But at the same time, I went overboard, and I literally became this person who made money everything, more important than my family, more important than my friendships. Like, it dictated a big part of my life. And I didn't even know that was the problem. Like, I just kind of thought that I was doing a great thing, because in the world that we live in, the idea is if you have a lot of money, you have a big job, you've got, I married my college sweetheart. I had a healthy baby girl. Like, by all appearances, everything looked perfect. And yet it wasn't. And I didn't know it wasn't until I came home from work one day to be told by my mother and my grandmother, my father's mother, that my father had been brutally murdered in 1999. And when that news came to me, I had not been in touch with my father for many years, because the drug use had really made him quite crazy. In fact, it had something to do with why he had been killed. But I collapsed on the inside and began this inner journey that continues to today. It would be many years before I would understand that it was about the money, that my journey, this life journey for me, has been so marked by these experiences with money. But I now see that my life is so perfect for me to step into this role of a teacher, because I did become a self-made millionaire by my mid-30s. I have had a great deal of success in the external world, but I also have been brought to my knees with humility around the inner journey and how important and pivotal it is for us to figure out, the true meaning of life beyond the spectacle. Oops, somebody came off of mute. If you want to mute yourself, that would be great. Oh, I think I got it. So these are some of the themes that, if you read my book and you read my blog post or you listen to my podcasts, you'll pick up on some of these things. That's the view, the perspective that I come at the world from. That while money is really helpful and a wonderful tool, it's a terrible master. And that as we can become, more in harmony with ourselves, we can use that harmony in our experiences with money and show up in such a more loving, supportive, dynamic way in the world. And that it's not always easy to do that, because a lot of times money causes a lot of skewed behaviors. And that's kind of what I had to live through. So I'm just going to check in. Is this making sense? Is there any questions about what I've shared? I started this business wealth clinic about 5.5 years ago. And I just recently finished this book that will be published next June by St. Martin's Press. Any comments? No questions? Okay, thank you. So thank you for letting me share that with you. It's funny, I don't realize sometimes when the emotion is locked in things, but it's like, I really did live this life, and I get shocked sometimes. So, okay. So why does any of this matter? I think I've shared a little bit about that, but what I really want to hit home is the fact that what we're exploring today isn't simple, right answer, wrong answer. It's not like I'm just going to teach you how to do a webinar or how to, market on Facebook. Like, this is complicated stuff. This is about navigating life. And I think the big realizations that I've had in my own journey is that life is messy, that it isn't about fixing everything with money, that it isn't about things being perfect, that it's not about having all the right answers, that this journey is about making sure that you have the knowledge and the wisdom to better manage the ups and downs of life while using money as a tool to help you create your best life possible. So let that sink in. Do I get some, does this make Maybe just, does that speak to you? Hopefully it does, if you've gotten this far. And feel free to use chat. So after 3 decades of being on this spiritual journey and like I said, becoming a self-made millionaire and then working with people and their money for many years, I've also learned that each of us have our own pathway to wealth and happiness, that there's no one size fits all, both in how we experience it and how we get there. It's your choice what you want to do. It doesn't just magically happen. However, if we just sit back, we are not going to get where we want typically, because this is sort of like inertia. Inertia just keeps us exactly where we're at right now. So we must move forward. We must take action. We must implement. We must be bringing these dreams that we have into reality and doing whatever it is we can to support that mission. And that's really important. Thank you. I love these notes. Thank you. And the comments. And something else I've learned, and this was a big thing recently that came to me. It was funny because I realized that I was sort of hiding something from my, the public, if you will. And then I one day woke up and realized, well, this isn't actually something I should be hiding. I've learned that for myself, for my own journey, and you're going to have your own thing, but for me, I really love helping other people succeed. And oftentimes I work with clients and they go on to make a lot more money and have a lot of huge success in their businesses, bigger than anything that I've done thus far. And it brings me great satisfaction to know that is a huge component of this work, that when I'm able to help others be more successful in their life, the joy it brings into my own life brings opportunities that help me to help more people. And that's just, it's profound, because it's funny. It's like, I was like, well, thinking, well, I should be more successful. I'm like, well, really, I think it's really good if your clients are like more successful. There's nothing wrong with that. And so that was a big wake up. I thought this was interesting. Somebody, one of these many stories, I'm just going to share this with you. Deb actually shared this with me this morning. She might be on the call, but the program I'm starting on Monday is called the Mindful Millionaire Intensive. But she shares here that it is, what does she say? It's unlike any program or coaching I've ever taken. With the guidance and tools, I could unearth the thoughts, beliefs, patterns, and behaviors that kept me stuck. Deep inside, I always wanted to believe and prove that we are certainly able to create a life we yearn for. But the math of how to do this continued to elude me as I would get stuck, sidetracked, and discouraged by life's ups and downs. Finding this work was a game changer that moved from perpetuating more of the past to creating a different future. And she's explaining she makes more money, makes choices from the perspective of the life she wants to live, and has a daily practice now combining spiritual and inner work with these outer practical tools. So I thought that was pretty cool, because I didn't know she was going to write that, but we're in sync with what we're all trying to accomplish. So thank you, Deb, for sharing that with me. So what I want to do now actually is talk for a few minutes about what makes you feel happy. What does happiness mean to you? Because we're going to be talking about wealth. We're going to be talking about happiness. And I'd love it if you could put the stick in the sand and maybe write a note or share it in the notes in the chat. But like, some of the things that make me really happy is I love always having choices. I don't like to be backed into a corner. I like to be able to choose whatever I think is best in any given situation. And money helps me do that. I like to have the freedom to pursue a passion. Like, this job this business has been a passion project, no question about it. If it was about the money, I probably would have, closed the doors a long time ago. It's definitely lead by passion, and then the money will follow sort of philosophy. But feeling a sense of confidence in myself. I can't speak enough about this. if I did not feel confident in myself and I was still the person I was even 5 years ago, I would not be able to hold the space for the conversation that's happening here. While I used to be a big wig in my corporate career and I was very successful, I was confident in my ability to show up and get the job done and do the work that was at hand. But I wasn't confident in bringing my full self forward, my spiritual thoughts, my personal thoughts, as well as my business thoughts. Like I wasn't comfortable in that way. So this feeling of a sense of confidence to be yourself and authentically you. Time with my family. I also love solo time and pampering myself and, getting a massage or sitting in a long bathtub or, those sorts of things. And I don't know that you need a lot of money to sit in a bathtub, but that's probably right there at the top of my list. So some of the greatest things in life are actually pretty darn cheap if you think about it, walks in nature and things like that. So I love what you're sharing here, but what does it mean for you? What does happiness mean for you? Anyone want to just take themselves off of the mute and share a quick second? Don't be shy.
I love animals.
Uh-huh.
It's fun. I have my new dog and I have 2 kitty cats, and I love animals. They're fun to watch. They're fun to interact with. They're very true to themselves. And my cat is a cat is a cat.
Their catness is awesome.
Truly catness. I live in a redwood canyon, which is just heaven.
Ooh, and that's beautiful.
Redwood Canyon. There's lots of houses here, but it's like I'm off the main road, and I don't have to look at buildings other than little houses. It's a pretty garden.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. I love this. So time with friends, freedom to move and travel, the ability to do what I want, being expansive, freedom to move, time with friends and family, to play, being healthy and fit. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing those. Yeah, it's fun to think about. I'm guessing we'd all love more happiness. I'll mention, happiness is this fleeting thing. We're not going to get into the philosophical thoughts behind happiness, but that's how I think of it. It's like in a moment of time, we feel this sense of happiness, and then life continues, and then something else might happen and we feel a sense of happiness. But it's not that the only way we can feel happy is if it's always happy. Like that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to be realistic. And can you see how building wealth also, like having the finances to support it, helps to bring your dreams into reality? I think a lot of freedom, conversations around freedom typically do involve a sense of having our basic needs, at the very least, our basic needs met. And at the same time, there's mental freedom, there's spiritual freedom. There's lots of things too that go beyond the money, but we're opening it up to all parts. So the other thing that I just want to mention is it's always important to pay attention to the desire that we feel for the happiness, that we make sure that the reason that we want the happiness is big enough that it allows us to overcome the obstacles that stand in our way sometimes from creating these things. Like it is a great place to look. And even on yesterday's conversation, we kind of went down a rabbit hole. We're not going to do that today, but it's very easy to notice how you want to be incentivized to do the work and feel motivated to do the work to achieve the happiness that you're trying to feel and experience. For example, if we value peace of mind and we're really struggling with money, and peace of mind is the reason we're trying to make more money, but in order to make more money, we're going to have to hustle, and we're probably not going to be feeling a lot of peace of mind while we create the wealth or we create more money for ourselves. We want to pay close attention to that, because you can see how that can kind of cause a disconnect. It's like I'm doing this, I'm making this money because I want to feel peace of mind, but I just feel tired and busier than I'd like to be. When we're building practical physical wealth in the world, a lot of times it's like, it will take work, it will take effort, it will take us applying ourselves again and again and again. And many times it won't go as we first plan, or maybe the second time we plan. And if we are valuing a state of consciousness so high during that phase that it prevents us from going after it, we want to pay close attention to that. Does that make sense? Thank you. So just to recap where we've come from and where we're going, we've talked about the goals of this discussion, the importance of implementing what we're learning and looking for some nuggets of things that we want to follow up on after this conversation today. The real problem is not, time, money, experience, fill in the blank. A little bit about my backstory and the whys behind happiness and wealth creation. So this was just a reminder of me, for me. What I'm sharing with you next is something that has, tens of, probably 20s of 30s of thousands of hours have I spent contemplating and testing and diving into these themes that we'll be talking about to synthesize them down to a chart that I'll be sharing with you. But the first thing I also want to say is that every one of these 7 strategies are, they can be infused with this part of you that we started off with in our conversation, this soulful sense of you, this connection to the divine. Like each of them have their own connection to this spiritual awareness, if you want to call it that. So I haven't singled out any one in that way, but they're all part of it's each of these have a part of that in it. What I also wanted to do was break this down into some simple steps, and we might even work together on this together. But the chart that I want to share with you has 3 main aspects: self-mastery, self-empowerment, and self-discipline. And all 7 of these are important. I don't think that you can leave any one of these out when we're on a trajectory of personal growth. We want to pay attention to all 7 of these, and I'll go into them one by one. But even just looking and letting this soak in, the self-mastery is leading us to this place of aligned confidence, to be our authentic self, to really show up in ways that bring us great joy and meaning and connection with others. The self-empowerment tools are moving us into being able to take inspired action, because I don't know about you, but I have no interest in willpower in my life. Like if somebody puts me like on a diet, for example, and they're like, you just need to do this, I eat more than ever before. Like I am just not a willpower kind of gal. It has to come from an inspired place. And that's what we're talking about with self-empowerment. And then finally, self-discipline, which is leading us to intuitive prioritization. And what I mean by that is getting to the point where we're so familiar with like our money and how to take care of it. When I'm talking about money mindset and how to navigate the challenges of the money world. And we're so comfortable at being able to bend time, meaning we're able to find a way to get the things done that we want to get done, that we're always able to navigate time. And that ultimately when we bring this money mindset together with the time bending, we move into this state of like intuitively, we're able to prioritize things as they're coming into our lives. Does that make sense? Like intuitively, it's like we don't have to sit there and go into analysis paralysis. We just know this is what I'm doing. So these are very realized states on the right side of this chart: aligned confidence, inspired action, intuitive prioritization. I feel like when we reach these states, life is a lot easier because we're just responding rather than reacting. We're able to be fully present to our life, and it's not consuming us. Anybody want to just come off of mute and talk or tell me what's coming up for them as they look at this? I'd love to just talk before I dive into the specifics. Dottie, yeah. Oh, take yourself off of mute. Let's see, I'll unmute you. Okay.
I realized a little bit ago when you were talking about something that when I do my work, I've often thought, well, I'm just not enough. I don't know enough. And the problem is I just need to increase my confidence.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, truth bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, as a coach, so I work with a lot of people one-on-one, and I will say to you again and again, and even in the group level, but I mean, both ways it comes up. Many times I feel like my gift to my clients and their openness to receiving it is helping them to see just how amazing they really are. But not because I'm just saying you're awesome, you're awesome, you're awesome, but because we're able to narrow in on the gifts that they have got in this life, that it's so second nature to them. They kind of gloss over it and they don't realize that this is a profoundly positive, influential state that they're in, and they're not. And when they don't confidently rise to those gifts, everyone suffers. They suffer and the world suffers because we're not getting to see them in this incredible brilliance that each of us have in this lifetime. So it's the confidence that I'm helping people to return to. And it takes a lot of effort sometimes because people hear me say it and then 6 months later they hear it again. Did somebody come off of mute to say something?
Yes. This is Patricia.
Yeah, hi. Oh, let's see. I don't know if we lost you. I heard you, but then
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm Patricia. I think the thing that's screaming off the page to me, if I look at the top, is number 3, the permission. And for some reason, I think I personally struggle with giving my permission to do the things that I want to do, as if somehow, I don't know, living some kind of life where I don't have the wealth and the happiness I want is like a more spiritual or better life than actually pursuing what I need to do for myself. So
You're coming in and out. This is so good what you're sharing. So I'm not sure if it's a
I'm
mic.
sorry. Is
Okay.
it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think what I was sharing is just, for some reason I have in my head that there's some spirituality of not pursuing what I want to do. And I see different areas in my life, whether it's my job, whether it's where I live, that I don't think I'm giving myself permission to do something different, to pursue what I want to pursue, to just, I don't know, explore things that I want to do, to paint, to do whatever, right? So that's what's just hitting me today.
I love it. I love you're bringing up something that I'll say kind of a little embarrassingly, it took me 12 years to figure this one out. So however long you've been working on it, I'm just going to maybe make you feel much better in this moment, because when my father was killed, I was drawn to Buddhism. At that time, I had been an atheist, and Buddhism was like the thing that called to me, that I didn't have to deal with the concept of God. So I went to Buddhism and I meditated for like 11 years, and very serious meditator. And I love Buddhism and I love the teachings of Buddha. Don't get me wrong. But there was one thing that I noticed that was happening to me, and it was the opposite of this permission thing. The more I went inwards, the more I withdrew from life, and I withdrew from activities that would have actually helped me. And it was very much, you know, I can look back and say now, sure, it may be spiritual, like misunderstanding, but many people have this happen where it's like the idea of shrinking the ego, diminishing, you know, that part of ourselves means that we don't actually take the actions. Is this tuning into some of what you're feeling?
No, it totally is. And just two other things that came up for me while you were sharing.
Uh-huh.
So not that there's anything wrong with this, but I was raised Catholic, right? So I have this incredible guilt that I feel like, you know, continues to come up. But one of the things I've struggled with through my life is my weight. I've been up, I've been down. I mean, embarrassingly enough, I've gained and lost 100 pounds. I can't even tell you how much. And I happen to be up right now, which is really bothering me. But it's a cycle, right? Like I have to give myself permission to be healthy and to be fit and to do the things that I know that are right for me. But then when that happens and things start changing, then I shift. And so again, this just idea of permission and letting go, I guess the emotional cleaning, like getting rid of the guilt and just knowing that it's okay. Anyway, this chart's just speaking to me. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm right there with you, and I really appreciate what you're bringing in, because it allows me to shift into even talking about this chart. And I think I may have noticed there might be even a thought, like we put this together yesterday, and it may be that it gets flipped. So like the root is on the bottom, you know, we'll see what happens, but you're helping me think through these things as we're doing this work together. So, but I am going to start from the top and go down. So you mentioned it, Patricia, like there is no question in my mind, and I want everyone to just soak this up for a moment. When I talk about emotional clearing, and this is a lot of what we were doing together over this past few weeks with the limiting beliefs and diving into our feelings, was that the emotional clearing, more than anything else, is removing unconscious guilt from our awareness, like removing it from, so we're bringing the unconscious guilt, although it may have a lot of different sounds and feelings and names. If you keep going deeper and deeper and deeper into the reasons that we have the limiting beliefs that we do, you'll ultimately come to some sense of unconscious guilt. So the reason that the process of exploration of emotional clearing is difficult is we're mining for these places inside of ourselves so that we can become aware of them. And even the awareness of the unconscious guilt can be quite painful, because there's so much that goes on in the brain when this happens, both the brain and the emotional body, right? So the mental body, the emotional body, the spiritual body, because part of us feels great grief for the past that we've been living with this guilt, knowing now in this moment that it could never have been true, that it was just a belief, and that it is not our true self. It is not our true reality. And so part of the reason it's uncomfortable is just noticing that that's something that's happened in the past requires us to give ourselves a great deal of permission and forgiveness and love and compassion. And some of us may have built stronger muscles in that capacity than others, but I know innately we have it. We just have to pull it forth, and we can become our own spiritual guide in that moment. So the reason, you know, I think I'm a really good teacher about this is because I have been looking for 20 years at these aspects of myself and plucking them out one by one. And you know, 5 years ago, not only was I doing that work independently, well, let me step back. I've been teaching meditation since 2003. and uncovering this stuff and then sharing it publicly in the classes that I was teaching. And then by me sharing, I would open people up to having their own epiphanies and their own breakdowns to break through. And because I could witness so much of that, it just helped me to learn how to hold space for this spiritual awakening process. And that I have to be free of judgment myself towards myself in order to allow people to go to the depths of their soul. Because if I'm judgmental, I won't be able to hold the space when someone else is being judgmental, because I'll be judgmental of the situation. And that literally shuts everything down. So maybe in the meditations and the other things, if they've had an impact on you, the reason they're so helpful is because they're created from the other side of that, free of judgment, free of blame or, guilt by association, whatever it is. So that's what we're talking about with emotional clearing. The next one is mindfulness. This is about know thyself. This is about, more than anything, being able to take this brain that we've been given with all this high functioning capability, and actually, rather than the brain controlling our lives, this higher self, eventually we call it that, right? This higher self actually comes in and controls the brain and controls the reactions, the responses to the world, because we're so good at watching what's happening in our mind and then navigating life from this very mindful awareness. So this is why mindfulness is so important when we're thinking about self-mastery and developing confidence. Because let's face it, you may have lots of thoughts. You may have read every single book under the sun about mindfulness and spirituality and so forth. But if you have no control over your mind, then what can easily happen is your judgment, your inner critic, your inner child, what have you, takes control and hijacks situations. So you think your thoughts, your conscious awareness knows all the right stuff, but you do not have control over your emotional responses, because the mind does actually have a great deal of control over the emotional responses. Now, what's funny, and this is where I really struggled and where I had to leave Buddhism and move into the work that I do and not just be about mindfulness, is that you need to combine the emotional clearing process simultaneous to the mindfulness practice. And then going one level deeper, when those two things are coming into alignment, we've become far better able to give ourselves permission to experience the life that we want to live. And what's funny about permission is this is actually about many times it is about putting ourselves first and learning how to navigate that in these very busy lives. I'm a mom, I'm a friend, I'm a coach, I'm all kinds of things to all kinds of other people. And if I'm not careful, I can become everything to everyone, but no one to myself. And I've learned over this past 5 years, particularly, of the importance of being able to give ourselves permission to put ourselves first, put the oxygen mask on ourselves first, help ourselves fill our bucket. And then the power in which we operate in the world from that place is exponentially bigger. Because no longer is it about us needing our needs met. Our needs are met. We've taken care of ourselves. Now we can go out and help other people in a big way. And it's a very important process, I think, that we go through as we really want to come into this fullest sense of ourselves. So that's aligned confidence. Yeah, allow time for me. Exactly. Totally. You've got to do that. So anyone just want to touch in, like, yeah, this is speaking to me for self-mastery. I mean, there's so much here, but this was what came to me, right? In this past 24 to 48 hours, this new way of explaining this.
Yes, this is Princella. I'd love to
Hi.
share something.
Mm-hmm.
Hi. I love how you word this, because and what made me want to say something is the topic about permission, and the timeliness of you coming into my space and my awareness was so important, because I had a really hard time with permission, and the thing that helped me to be able to even think about that there was something else greater than even that, which is what you're calling self-mastery, was I became a Christian kind of late in life, and my belief in God grew very strong, not until my late 30s, early 40s. And so with that, I was really confused about, faith and self-empowerment. And I came across a scripture, Joshua 1:9, which helped me to see it differently, which was, have I not commanded you, be courageous, be strong. And that helped me to open my mind and my heart what it means to have permission, to, you know, start with self-empowerment, and I'm thankful for these next phases of growth, you know, beyond that. Self-empowerment certainly hasn't been enough for me. I knew there was something deeper, and that's what your work has been showing me in the past few weeks when we did the challenge. So thankful for that. And I really wanted to share that in case that helps somebody, because it really helped me to break through that.
It's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you so much. You might even post it so that we can take it away.
Okay.
That would be great in the chat. Thank you. Thank you. So I'll speed it up a little bit and talk about, I do feel like the self-mastery piece is what many of us are working on, but simultaneous, there are these other two buckets, the self-empowerment and the self-discipline. The self-empowerment, when I talk about up-leveling thoughts, here I'm talking about actually maybe not what you're expecting me to say, which is, this is about the container of what we're surrounding ourselves with. So this is, what books are we reading? What things are we watching and listening to? This is, who are we, probably more important than anything, who are we surrounding ourselves with? Are we surrounding ourselves with a community of people that push us to find our true self, to awaken to these deeper parts of ourselves, and also bring that part of ourselves into the practical world? Are we surrounding ourselves with people who want to do that in their own lives, in their own businesses, in their own worlds? Because I have had a lot of experience over, especially this past few years when I started these masterminds, to see that many times there are things that are wanting to come out of me, and yet I'm still too unconfident to go out and share it with people, strangers, or people that I don't know. But with the mastermind, I can go and test ideas in these small, loving, supportive groups and see what the reaction is. And then from there, I can go out and bring it to, but like it helps me be more helpful to other people, because I may have held it back and kept it inside and never shared it. But by sharing it with people that say, yeah, this is awesome, you know, go share that with others, then I do more of that. But there are limitless ways. I mean, this is about the coaching that you know, if you work with coaches, who are they? How are they supporting you? What purpose might they serve in your life? Sometimes we hire people just to teach us one particular thing. And it may not be that they have to be realized beings in order to help us with that one particular task. But when we're thinking about the big picture of what we want to create in our lives, we want to be really, really cognizant that we will be affected heavily by those influences. And do they help us go where we want to go? And will they bring us the happiness that we're seeking? The next one is goal setting. Yesterday in our conversation, a few people left the conversation thinking, I need to focus more on goal setting. I think that goal setting, I have gone back and forth so many times it would make your head hurt trying to figure it out. But no question about it, the more I see the potential of the work that I do in the world, the more I appreciate the importance of goals. Now, I even say that sometimes it is a goal of mine to say, I am surrendering this particular thing. It's still like a goal. Like, I am officially surrendering this because I have absolutely no idea where it's going to head. But these other things, I think I can set a goal and I can go after them. But the idea that we don't set goals, back to even what Patricia and I were talking about earlier, is misguided. If we do not have a target for where we are trying to hit, we will never get there. We need the target. We need the little teeny action steps that help us move day by day by day towards the thing. And we want to always return to, what are my goals right now? What am I working towards? How can I break them down? And many times we may look at our goals and say, I have absolutely no idea how to get them, how to bring them into reality. I see what I want. I don't know where. This is a perfect time for a mentor, a coach, a group experience to bring them out and say, hey, this is what I want, but I don't know how to get there. And it's amazing how fast, when you're in these really loving, supportive groups, that people rise up and say, hey, I can help you with that. I happen to be an expert at that. Dottie, this happened to you the other day, right? And you didn't even know you were asking the question about sales, but somebody was like, it's sales. And there you go. Somebody appears and they want to help you and support you. And this is the world that we're living in these days, that we can't depend on other people to read our minds. So we got to do the first step. But once we say, hey, I need help, that's a huge shift in opening up to the divine, the magic, all the good stuff that I think we love and appreciate. And I would not be here today if I had not moved out of, I used to be somebody who hated asking for help. Like, I'm pretty efficient at getting a lot of stuff done. So I just made up this idea in my mind that I didn't need help. Like, I was always the helper to other people, but I didn't need help. And yeah, now I ask for help all the time without question. Sometimes I'm like, I wonder if people are thinking that I'm just asking a little bit too much, but I'm going to go with it. I'm making up for a whole bunch of lost time. So bear with that. The next is self-discipline. And this is, you know, you can see how the who are you surrounding yourself with and what goals have you set? And are those inspired goals, right, that move you into inspired action? So I just want to mention that. And then self-discipline, the money mindset. You know, this happens to be an area that I focus a lot of time and energy on, but this can be the books, this can be the teachers, this can be the practical experiences that we have with money. This can be paying attention to, do we have a thermostat set at a certain level for the money? And we need to like blow up the thermostat, or we need to turn it up, or we need to make some big changes. Like, all of that gets classified into the money mindset piece. It's a huge world in and of itself, but it's important. We can't, you know, we can't just turn our back on money in this lifetime, period. Like, it will be with us until the day we take our last breath. Even that will cost money. So we need to be taking care of ourselves. And then finally, the time bending. This is about making sure that we have very efficient strategies in place that we're able to get shit done. Like, that's the best way I can say it. We need to be able to be organized enough to not only set the goals, but actually make the time to bring them into reality. And while I touch on these things in my programs, I am very good at time bending. I'm not quite sure how I get as much done as I do. And I think when people hang out with me, they notice that the bar has been set at a higher level, that things are possible, and that I like to remind everyone that every single person on the planet has the exact amount of time, the exact same amount of time as we do. Nobody got more than the other person. So that right away gives us an idea that there's potential. And like I said, that moves into intuitive prioritization. So before we move on, just, are we good? Does this make sense? We'll probably be doing some more tweaking on this slide, but once we finish it up, then I'm happy to share it with you if that would be helpful. So you can do this. These are all things that I know you have the power to do. I don't think you should tackle them all at once. I think that some things may have higher priority for you than others. In the work that I do, I've found that oh, thank you. I know, Lisa, I'm thinking about, this could be a book. Thank you for mentioning that. In all of my programs, in Mindful Millionaire, everything I do, I try to focus at least aspects of all three of these. But just to recap, self-mastery is about changing your beliefs, gaining control of your mind, and giving yourself permission. Self-empowerment is where you're up-leveling your thoughts and not just setting goals, but achieving them. And self-discipline is where you're developing your money mindset and you're learning how to control your time. So those are the 7 strategies and what we get from them. And again, you can do this. So if we had more time, we'd like dive into things, but I'm just going to take a check and see, has this been helpful, valuable to you so far? Do you feel like you've got some inspiration and some ideas that you can put into practice? Does anybody have anything just real quick they want to share? Dottie?
I like the breakdown of the 7 strategy, because I can see where I need to work on all of them.
Yeah, that's great to know. And then you get to put it, you can put it on your mirror or something, right? And look at it, or next to your desk. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone in particular jumping out? Okay. I see people taking notes, so I know it's helping. And I love the conversation that we're having. So, with this chart, I have every confidence that you can begin working on these things, right away and put some of these into practice. What I also know is that, with your time and your effort, you can make a go of it in a meaningful way. And I also know that these are the things that I happen to specialize in, that the work that I do focuses on, to varying levels. The program that I'm starting on Monday, Mindful Millionaire, is something I'd love to share more about with you. But particularly the book that will be coming out next June also explores these things and teaches you how to do that. So if the timing's not right, no big deal. I know that those who are ready for diving in and doing some work together over this next, 3+ months, this is the opportunity. I've decided I won't do this program again until next fall at the soonest, but I am even reserving that. It's just such a big production right now. The Mindful Millionaire and the way I've constructed it is something where it's a small enough group where everyone comes in and can get all of the things that they're working on going. And that's a very exceptional experience for a very low cost. But it's at an expense of my time. It takes a lot to pull it together. So I'm like, I'm going to give myself a break and I'm going to go all in for the fall. So super excited about it. I'd love to share it with you, even if whatever's coming up for you. So if that's okay, I'll dive into a little bit more about the Mindful Millionaire and talking about that. And the idea is how can you find the shortcuts? How can you find the support systems? How can you find the additional insight that allows you to go deeper and more thoroughly into this material and the mindset work to get the results that you want and desire and deserve? And I think the cool thing about a fall program also, which is kind of exciting, is that whatever we're doing between now and December are the things that are going to set you up for the new year, right? You'll be testing and trying things out together over this next 3 months. But if you're in business or you're looking at focusing on, some investing, or there's some big initiative that you're wanting to spend more time and attention on, the next 3 months will become the beta, because you'll be having that theme of your intention of what you want to create. Everyone comes into this program with a different objective. Some people are focused on their businesses. Some people are focused on their relationships. Some people are focused on building more wealth for themselves, passive income strategies. Like, it meets you wherever you're at. It's a truly unique program in that it is about the mindset first, and then what are you going to do about it? Come back to the mindset, then what are you going to do about it? So that's how I've structured it. So it's 100, I don't even think, it's not 120 days, like 100-day mastermind is a type of 12-week interactive group coaching and training program that teaches smart and proven strategies to create wealth building and financial wellness to anyone wanting greater fulfillment and financial success in life and business. And the way it works is there are 9 live training sessions. Most of those are on Mondays at 9 a.m. Pacific. Or noon Eastern. 8 live coaching sessions, and these are on Tuesday mornings. There are a few that are in the afternoon for people in Australia or other countries, so they can come in and do the coaching work with us. But these are sessions that typically are 90 minutes long, but they will go as long as they need to make sure everyone's questions are answered. And we get into some really deep stuff here that everyone in the community holds space for, but we all benefit from. Like, sometimes some of our biggest breakthroughs come as a result of one person going through their particular challenge, and we all get to witness it and hold space for it. So this is like deep dive coaching. I'm very good at creating a sacred, safe space for this work to happen. And people get over any fears that they have pretty quickly. Anybody want to add to this who's done it before? Because I know we have a few people. Like, there isn't a fear of like showing up once you watch what happens, and the magic and the love and the support that happens for everybody in the group. Anyone want to comment on that?
That is very true. This is Jenny. Oh, I can.
Hi.
My video's not going.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, there we go. That's absolutely true. I don't think I've ever felt as safe as I have felt in uh, in those groups, and I've been in a lot of groups. So I think it's what you've been saying, your total lack of judgment and your ability to empty yourself so that people can show up fully and not be, and there's a feeling and a knowing that there is zero judgment happening. And so then it creates a space. In my experience, it's created a space in me so that I can move around inside myself in ways that I didn't even know was possible. And when that space and that movement happens, stuff starts flowing and moving. So yeah, that's absolutely true.
Thank you so much. I mean, I think starting with the way that we create the sacred space, even though it's virtual, we do this when I do retreats. It's like we come together and we're making commitments to each other about the experience that we're creating and how we each want to show up, and the boundaries that we're creating for what's on the outside and what's on the inside, and that this is a place for healing and for us to do our own work, and that it may look very different from one person to the next, and that's totally fine. I'm always amazed because this is probably, I mean, this isn't something you can just package and like sell, but I would say it's one of my core strengths in life of being able to create those spaces. And I treasure it deeply because of the results of what happens for people as feeling so safe. So thank you for sharing that.
And also I would just say what you said about the group thing. I was very wary about that. I just wanted to work with you. I was like, let's just be efficient. just get this done one-on-one. But you're right. Some of my biggest breakthroughs came from me being a witness to someone else going through their stuff, because when I've been able to witness that and see that and be a part of that, I'm not being personally triggered. And so it's a totally different way of learning, but it also gave me a lot of comfort because I buy into the I'm the only one thing a lot as part of my ego's deal. And it's a big pattern for me. And so it helped me see the universality of what I thought I was totally alone in. But when I would try to do my work in it, I'm so triggered and so set up that I can't move it. And so seeing someone else, I know the moment in my mind when that happened. And it was such a powerful moment. I was like, this is very clearly a story and she doesn't see it. And I'm like, oh, I'm doing that. I could never see it when we would work together. It was really powerful seeing someone in the group move through it. So I'm glad you
mentioned that, because a lot of what we do is getting into a little bit more of the detail than I plan to go into. You can learn on the page more about it, but we go into stories, and we go into these stories and we write our story. And, you may think in the back of your mind, someday I want to write my life story. Someday I want to, share these parts of my life with other people. And this work is profoundly affecting because it shows you, if you dive into it and you lean in and do the exercises that you're being guided through, it will provide a foundation for something that you could expand upon later in writing your own story. Like, I'm helping you dive in. And part of the reason we're using storytelling as a transformational exercise is that as you go and see your life as a hero's journey, and you're writing about these pivotal moments of like, why do I think the way I do? Why do I keep doing the patterns that I'm doing? And you see it kind of written out in front of you. And literally many people can break through the story into this whole new level of awakening as a result of the exercises, so that you can write about it from a very healed place, rather than many times when we go to write books, and I've written over 1 million words to get to my 100,000 my books. I'm an expert now. We try to write the book, but we're still so trapped inside the story that the value of the story isn't as helpful to people, because we're writing from it inside. But what I'm showing you how to do is to step back from these experiences and write your story from the healed state. And if you're not there, then you're able to see, this is where I want to work some more on. This is what I want to break free of, so that I'm not trapped in this story anymore. Yeah. And that's included in the book. That's included in the workshop. Dottie, did you have something on that? Wasn't sure.
Well, I didn't realize that was still unmuted. Yeah, my story is very disempowering and has got me a long way. And I'm so tired of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Jenny's like, amen, sister. Thank you. So we talked about this, the group of like-minded people doing this work together, super important. And then it's fun. Like what's happening here. Like, this is what I live for. This is my life. I get to do this all the time. It's pretty cool. So, so there's a lot more detail, and I'm not going to go into it. I'm going to encourage you to go check out the information. If you're interested in joining us this time around, it goes through tonight at midnight if you want to join us for the fall. But it's the live training calls, the workbook, which is hundreds of exercises, the coaching sessions, the guest speakers who are also willing to do coaching in those guest speaking spots. So you can see we've got a storytelling coach. We've got a financial advisor who also teaches mindfulness practices. I mean, we've got just the best of the best. I've interviewed 250 people on my podcast, and I bring the best of those people to come and hold space with us because I know that they're going to be so powerful when they speak to our group. You know, I've just picked those that really, really, really will hit home all the way for us and for what we're looking to do. The other part of it is that you get access to the 21-day course that is being created right now. We'll be ready in a couple weeks. I don't think you'd want to be doing that at the same time you're doing the Mindful Millionaire. So you'll have that waiting for you when you're done, and you can do that over and over again. I'm also throwing in my other program, Infinite Abundance, which is a 28-day mindfulness cycle. So you'll be able to meditate all of next year without needing to go and get anything else, and lots more meditations. But something that if you watch the video with Dawn was I'm so glad that she did that interview with me because she was a perfect example. She had gone through Mindful Millionaire for the first time in the spring. I don't think she shares this that she was on an average of like 10K a month. And her goal for the program was to get to 20K a month, double her income. And she's successfully done that. And she's seeing how she can continue to even grow that further. Like, her mind is just expanded, and she explains that in her world. In her hands, this program was worth over $100,000. I mean, I actually think it could be worth a lot more than that. I mean, it just depends on, we walk before we run. And so what I tell people is I would love you, if you're going to sign up for this program, that you find a way that you could 10 times your investment. So at least have $10,000 coming back. If it's $1,000 to join, what can we help you do? How can you have that be one of your intentions? How can I support you during this next 3 months so that that sort of impact happens? And I know, Leisa, you're on the program, and I think that sometimes people come into the program, and I feel like I've done a lot better job this time around of preparing people for what this is about so that you can hit the ground running. Because there were some comments last time around, they were like, I'm ready to do the class again because I'm ready to do these 10K goal, but we're going to be more purposeful and specific about, what is the intention? And it may not be money. Some people are like, that's not the issue. The issue is I want to feel better about some other pattern that I've got going on. And it's okay, if I don't 10 times the investment. This is something I put out there as something to inspire people to think bigger about what's possible. So it's really weird. My stalling. So you can sign up till tonight. There's a few payment options. You can start as low as $200, and there is a 14-day money back guarantee. I was looking for that slide. I can't find it, but the idea is you can come in $200, do a payment plan, and then make sure that over this next couple of weeks that it's the place that you're supposed to be. And if not, then you just ask me for a full refund, and there's no questions asked. We just refund it. And it's super important because I only want people in the community that know that this is the right place for them. And you'll know that really, really quickly. Everything's transcribed, recorded. You can listen to the replays audio, visual with a video. And that's also good too, because most people listen to the live sessions a couple times, and they also listen to the coaching sessions a couple times. So that's why I create audios for your phone. So if you're going on a walk or you're going on a trip, you can listen to them and not have to watch the videos. And let's see, I'm all over the map. There's the guarantee. This is the point to register. I'm just going to put this in the link real quick if you want to check it out. And for some of you, you're repeating the program, and I'm going to be working on it today and tomorrow to make sure that you get all your links to come in and do the program again. So if you haven't gotten those, then as long as I know that you're wanting to do it again, then I will make sure that you're signed up. So any questions or comments or things that you have, you could take yourself off of mute. I want to make sure and be mindful of your time. No question about it. This program is about helping you develop the self-mastery, the self-empowerment, the self-discipline. We will go through the chakras one by one, the modules. There's 8 modules we go through. The first one is intention. That's not one of the chakras. But from there forward, each of those kind of are based on a chakra that we're diving into. But they're very, they're not clear cut that they're the chakras. They're very inspired by the chakras is what I would say. But we're using the chakras just like we started last time in the 21-day, 14-day course. We're using those teachings as a foundation for understanding the patterns that we have gotten stuck in, and we're setting a plan of action for how do we move forward and create the success that we want. And it has been done over and over and over again by nearly 100 people. I've proven that this is a great process that supports people for what they're trying to accomplish. I'm very, very comfortable with that. And it gets customized, based on who you are. And then the other part, I really hope you join us. That's tonight at midnight. Got to decide by then. And I thought that was really fun. I put some pictures together. You can see if here's a picture of you. Let's see. Oh, there was a picture of you, Jenny, here, but I'm not finding it. So there, wait, maybe. There you are in the top. So we don't have a retreat component automatically. There's an opportunity to come and join me for a retreat here in Sedona, just a few spaces in November. But I also will probably host some retreats in the spring or winter of next year. But this is just a feel for the community and how much fun we have together and all the fun things we do. I host retreats in Sedona and also in Hawaii. And I'm hoping that I am going to do another one in Hawaii maybe next fall, but we'll see. Those are dream retreats, but they're a lot of work to pull together. So yeah, any questions? Just take yourself off of mute. I think that was everything that I had today. I'm hoping that it's been valuable for your time invested.
I'm looking forward to Monday morning.
I am so excited that you're part of it, Toddy. This is great.
Yeah, I took my time deciding, so I didn't get the bonus coach with you, but I thought there's plenty of coaching. It'll be fine.
You're so right. You're so right. You will have all of your needs met in that time. I'm really excited that you're joining us. And for the first time, welcome to the community. We're going to love you up.
I needed to give myself a dynamite opportunity here.
Yeah, it really is. It really is, and this, I don't really like to talk about myself. It's one of my least favorite things to do. But things are really heating up with the book. And, I would love to sell a million copies of this book. Like ordering Kleenex from Amazon now. Thank you, Lisa, for putting that. At least Dottie's laughing. She's not like running. So, but yeah, some big stuff's happening with the book, and I'm preparing myself. In fact, I am not taking on any more commitments. I'm really being very, very careful about what's going to happen even into the spring of next year, because I want to give this a proper birth. This baby, this book baby is, I might never do something like this again. And it changes lives when you read it. And I'm so proud of where it's come from. I had a teacher when I was in my MBA program back in the early 90s tell me I was a horrible writer. And I believed him. This was my limiting belief. And so it's now taken me writing over 1 million words to reach the stage where, you know, I've got this book being professionally published by St. Martin's Press, part of Macmillan Publishers, and publishing at that level and working with my incredible editor has taken my writing to even a whole new level. And I'm just so proud of it, because I think that it's just a heart-opening book that teaches people how to change their relationship with money. I also will share that no one does what I'm doing. I have had plenty of conversations in my head that I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing, but all of my intellectual property, everything that I have created over this past 5+ years is inside of that book. And I have been given this money as a, you know, becoming a millionaire, having so much success. No question about it. I was given that money so that I could tell the story of what it's like to have it and still need to focus on the inner journey and how important the inner journey is. But I can't give that teaching and say money doesn't matter. It's, you know, whatever. I can't do that unless I had actually reached that stage. But now everything that I've created, I feel like it was a gift to me, and now I get to make it a gift into the world, and people will be able to buy that book. It's available for pre-order now for $17. And I don't know, I've had some tears, because I'm like, this is hard to spend 20 years of your life creating something that literally feels free, but I think that's what's supposed to happen. And I don't just think, I know that that's what's supposed to happen. And magical things are going to happen. And so I do agree with you, Dottie. It's a great time to join now, because I'm not sure that I will be this accessible again at this level. And it's just the way that things work when you have devoted so much time and energy into something that turns into, you know, a life-changing tool that I think a lot of people will want to get their hands on. So I get to share it with everybody for the next 3 months, and we're going to have a blast.
I too have a dream of writing a book. I'm not sure on what. And last week, I'm part of the Thrive Academy in Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
And I see the developer of that course and series of courses, Jesse Corn, interview his 11-year-old son, who is writing a book, a fantasy book.
Wow, I love Jesse.
This kid, because a lot of kids, you know, they don't know how to talk. They don't speak English. They speak kid stuff that's appropriate for texting and all that stuff. And this kid used the word amongst instead of between. And I thought, whoa, this kid knows some English. I was impressed.
He has some pretty awake parents, so I think that makes sense. They're a beautiful couple. That's awesome.
Oh, so you know them. They are a beautiful couple.
Yes. I've done the Thrive Academy stuff and loved it. And
I'm in it and not using it, and I will be meeting my resistance again in your program on starting things and not continuing with them.
We'll keep the little birds chirping in your ears that we need you to. We're just going to make it so fun that you're going to want to do it.
Without making you responsible, I would appreciate that.
Yeah. No. Well, I think that you'll find that you won't want to miss anything. And even there have been plenty of people who have come who haven't done every single exercise. Jenny's been around for years, and she's part of the book, and she's not done all the exercises. And there's so much there. You don't have to do it all to get the benefit.
I will miss two of the bonus calls, the bonus speakers, because I'll be at Thrive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you again, everyone, for being here. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Enjoy the full moon energy and heart opening. And I just really appreciate so much for you being here and being interested in this work, and for taking such good care of yourself. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you Monday.
Bye-bye.